There are stories we play, and then there are stories that play us, that grab hold of our instincts, our doubts, our darkest dreams, and force us to look at the world not as we wish it were, but as it is. Few franchises have ever dared to do that. Grand Theft Auto didn't just revolutionize gaming, and it carved into the heart of modern culture and forced us to ask uncomfortable questions about power, about survival, about what we become when the rules stop mattering. First, we go back to 1997. Before the billion-dollar budgets, before the controversy and cultural firestorms, there was a glitch, a happy accident in a driving game that turned cops into relentless pursuers and chaos into gameplay. That glitch became the blueprint for the original Grand Theft Auto, a top-down crime sim that didn't care if you played nice. In fact, it assumed you wouldn't. Liberty City, Vice City, San Andreas, pixelated playgrounds of destruction and choice. This wasn't a game that handed you a gun and told you what to do. It handed you a world and whispered, "Let's see what you'll become." There were missions, sure, but the true story? That was you. How far would you go? Who would you hurt? And would you feel anything when you did? Second came Grand Theft Auto 2, and while its overhead view remained, the soul of the game shifted. Darker, more cynical, more strategic. The setting moved into a dystopian near future, where gangs were replaced by corporations, and respect became a currency more valuable than bullets. You didn't just shoot your way up the ladder. You had to choose sides, balance betrayals, manage chaos. GTA 2 introduced something insidious: consequences. Help one faction and another turns on you. Save a friend, lose a future ally. It was no longer about surviving the streets. It was about navigating systems so broken they felt eerily familiar. It asked, what happens when crime is no longer rebellion, but business? Third, everything changed. Grand Theft Auto 3 wasn't just a step forward. It was a leap into an entirely new language of storytelling. The camera shifted behind the character. The world grew three-dimensional, and Liberty City came alive like never before. You played Claude, silent, cold, driven by revenge, a man with no voice but a loud, terrifying presence. His muteness wasn't a flaw, it was a mirror. You filled in the blanks. He became whatever you projected. A vengeful shadow, a blank vessel, or a man who had seen too much to bother speaking anymore. But it wasn't just Claude who made the game unforgettable. It was the city. Liberty City pulsed like a living organism. Gritty alleys, corrupt officials, pedestrians with too much on their minds to care about your crimes. Every block felt like it had a secret, and every mission felt like an opportunity to slip further into the madness. GTA 3 told us something we weren't ready to hear. Sometimes the most dangerous thing in the world is someone with nothing left to say. Fourth came a neon dream wrapped in blood and betrayal. Grand Theft Auto Vice City. The 1980s reimagined not as history, but mythology. Cocaine-fueled power grabs. Pastel suits hiding black hearts. And at the center of it all, Tommy Vercetti. Tommy wasn't just a gangster. He was a storm. Charismatic, brutal, and driven by a desire not just to survive, but to rule. Voiced by Ray Liotta, he brought a swagger to the series that felt cinematic. But underneath the bravado was something hollow, a man who had been used, discarded, and finally let off the leash. Vice City offered luxury and power, but not peace. Every ally was a future enemy. Every deal was a ticking time bomb. Tommy rose fast, too fast, and by the time he stood on top of the empire he built, he was already alone. That was the lesson. In Vice City, you don't win, you outlast, until there's no one left to challenge you and no one left to save you from yourself. Fifth, we met a man who didn't come to conquer, but to forget. Grand Theft Auto Cypher introduced us to Niko Bellic, a war survivor, a refugee, a man fleeing ghosts that followed him across an ocean. He arrived in Liberty City chasing the American dream, and found only a different flavor of nightmare. Niko wasn't after money or fame. He wanted peace, a clean slate, but peace doesn't come cheap, and in Liberty City, nothing is ever clean. The choices you made with Niko mattered. People lived or died, relationships fractured, and beneath every mission, there was this growing sense of inevitability, that no matter how hard you try, violence finds a way back in. What made Niko unforgettable wasn't his criminality, it was his pain. You could see it in his eyes, hear it in his voice. The war never left him, it just changed its name. He loved, he grieved, he laughed in moments he shouldn't, and through him, GTA 4 became the franchise's most introspective chapter. A slow, brutal meditation on guilt, memory, and the price of survival.
And sixth came the titanic storm that was Grand Theft Auto V. 3 men, 1 city, 1,000 lies. Michael DeSanta, a former thief living in a prison made of golf clubs and family therapy. He had everything: money, a mansion, a second chance, and yet he was rotting inside, bored, angry, desperate to feel alive again. Franklin Clinton, the striver, too smart for the streets but too trapped to leave them. He saw Michael as a mentor, a way out, but found only more corruption dressed in better suits. And then there was Trevor Phillips, a force of nature, a walking id, unfiltered rage and honesty. He didn't care about redemption, he was the chaos the other two pretended to escape. Together, they weren't just characters, they were facets of a single broken identity. Ambition, regret, and destruction. Los Santos wasn't a city, it was a circus, and each man played the clown in a different tragedy. GTA 5 didn't try to make them heroes, it simply exposed them, and in doing so, exposed us, our need to escape, to control, to dominate. It was the franchise's most polished mirror, and what it reflected wasn't pretty, but it was true, because that's what Grand Theft Auto has always done. Beneath the explosions and headlines and absurd moments, it holds up a mirror to systems, to dreams, to the quiet, gnawing parts of ourselves we'd rather not look at. It dares to ask what happens when everything is permitted and nothing is sacred. This has been VerseByte, guiding you through the emotional ruins and moral mazes of gaming's most provocative saga. If you felt something today, a memory, a chill, a second of recognition, hit subscribe, tap the bell, and stay with us. Next time, we'll dive into another world where identity fractures, where power warps the soul, and where gameplay becomes therapy. Until then, remember, in the world of Grand Theft Auto, everyone thinks they're in control, until they aren't.